Howdy, guys, and welcome to a recap of episode 2, season 38 of the Challenge Ride or Dies, and welcome to Cliff Notes as well. Hope y'all are all doing fantastic. Episode 2, we have spent a lot of time in episode 1 just getting an introduction to all the new Ride or Die teams that showed up, learning a little bit about the twist, how the elimination arena is going to work, things like that. This week, we got to know the contestants a little bit more. We saw a little more humanizing stories, some background on them. So we're going to talk about that. And of course, we had a challenge as well. Some people did great, some people not so much. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk all about the strategies as well. So let's get right into it. Now, first of all, last week in the premiere episode, we saw Johnny and Raven, newbies, win the first elimination or win the first competition, which meant they got to send the people into elimination. And of course, being the newbies, they chose to go after the vets. They didn't try to hide it. They made it pretty clear as a shot across the bow that we're coming for the vets. Eventually, we ended up having Tori and Devin competing against Sam and Kayla in the elimination arena itself. Sam and Kayla lost. First rider died to go home this season, so we did lose 2 vets. And again, the newbies have kind of made it clear which way they're going to head going forward. What are the repercussions of that? We're going to find out this evening. All right, so we start off the episode with that just concluding. We lost Sam and Kayla to competition. We also lost Casey and her brother Kenny, I think. Lost Casey and Kenny to COVID illness. So we lost 2 teams, but we regained a team. And what a team we've regained. Johnny Bananas and his ride or die this season, Nany. Yeah, that's quite the thing. Now, we've already got a Johnny playing the game, so I'm going to try to always refer to Johnny Bananas as just Bananas. Y'all know who I'm talking about, right? So we've got Bananas and Nany back to give it another try. Nany mentions that she's never won first place. She's come in second. She's made some finals, but she's never actually won. Bananas, on the other hand, I think he's won 7 times, and he says, "Yeah, I'm here to get Nany over the hurdle, get her to that last little stage, get her to win one of these things." They're going to be a strong team, so it's going to be fun to watch. The rest of the teams, ride or dies, when they walk in, are suitably impressed, as would be myself as well. So we've lost 2 teams, but we've gained 1 back. Now, we see almost immediately Nany learns that Casey is no longer there, that she had to go home. That's got to be a shock to her, both from a personal standpoint and a gameplay standpoint. She and Casey are dating. So again, just from a purely personal, someone that you can absolutely depend upon. I feel like Nany and or Casey in a very good position of having a look at Casey with her brother as a ride or die, absolute trust and faith there, and having your girlfriend on another team. It had put her into a good position, but que sera, sera, right? So Nany discovers that Casey is not there, not playing. Hurts her from a mental standpoint and from a strategic standpoint as well. So we do see that. Now, everyone gets back to the house. They start, Johnny and Nany start integrating with everyone else. Suitably impressed with where they're staying. I know some seasons in the past. What was a few seasons ago? They had to stay in a bunker out in Croatia or somewhere. Just horrific living conditions. I'm sure they were pretty happy that a little bit nicer this particular season. So they're very happy with that. We do discover that apparently Devin and Bananas are going to be sharing a room with each other. 2 strong players like that. If I'm the other newbies, I'm trying to break that up. I'm moving in, taking over that bed before I can. These 2, we've seen in the past couple of seasons, the vets really starting to, even if they've got personal grudges and such, willing to work with each other just to get rid of the newbies and then play the actual game is, I'm sure, the way they phrase it. We see Bananas and Devin are going to share a room together. They're going to be working together this season, right? They got to be. So that's going to be fun to watch the 2 of them. So we've got that. Nany is already starting to bond with the vets in the house, talking to the female vets, talking to some of them a little bit. She does mention, as I said, there's a little bit more background discussions in this particular episode. We hear Nany talking about the fact that unfortunately she lost her mother, who passed, and it sounds like maybe it was a little unexpected, lost her mom. So now she's back playing the game feeling like she's got extra motivation, that she wants to play the game for her mother's memory and such. So she's talking a little bit about that as well. While she's dealing or talking about that and sharing information with some of the other female vets, Bananas is starting to discover just what it's going to be like to live in a house and interact with Turbo this season. Turbo in the very first episode was just kind of snarky at a lot of people. It hadn't changed here either. He's already complaining to cameras about Bananas. Bananas is already seeing Turbo just, I don't know if this is really Turbo's personality or it's just for the cameras, but he just seems like a very bitter kind of person. Just not, if I was in the house, whether if I'm in the house, one, I'm poking Turbo every chance I get. I'd be like Devin is with the big brother players. I'd be poking Turbo because I just feel like you could get him ramped up and really PO'd very easily. So I'm doing that, but I'd also be doing everything I could to try to get Turbo to smile. He just needs to smile a little bit, and it doesn't seem like that's in Turbo's list of skills. Smiling, it's something we got to work on. But Bananas is going to get to work with Turbo. It seems like there's going to be some friction. We're going to see how that works out. We do have another discussion as well, and this is with Tori, and she's talking to Devin, who are partners. They're ride or dies this year. They're having a heart-to-heart about her breakup from Jordan. Jordan was her partner. They broke up about a year and a half ago or so, and it doesn't sound like it was easy. From Tori's standpoint, she spent some time talking about mental health and some medications and things she's done to make the situation better. And so it's kind of a heartfelt moment that she's talking about. They finishes it up, her and Devin kind of touching fingers, saying always here for each other and for you as well, vice versa and all that. So yeah, it's nice to see that these are real people playing this game. As hardcore as they get and as much yelling and screaming as we have within this game, it's nice to see that at the end of the day, they're just regular people, right? So we see that as well. And with all that background, what we've been waiting for, on to the first challenge, the first competition, find out who's going to be in charge this week. Now that we know how the twist works, how elimination and things like that work, as long as it stays the same, we know that whoever wins this competition has a lot of weight in this house, a lot of power, because they're going to basically interrogate four different ride or dies and decide who goes down into the elimination arena, who may be just competing based on random draw against the first ride or die to figure out who goes home. So they got a lot of power this season. So very important. And we find out before we ever get to the challenge, as everyone shows up, little bit of extra information. We find out that Emmy, I think her name's Russo. I never even got a chance to know Emmy, but we found out that Emmy, who was Nam's partner, apparently she was on Big Brother Germany. She was maybe on another show over there as well. Emmy decided that the challenge just wasn't for her. She's decided to leave the show. We didn't get any more background than that. I don't know. She's homesick. She didn't like the mud pit they had last week. Just don't know the background. Here's what I know. Nam's getting screwed over yet again. I hated last time Nam was in the house. He was in a duo situation with Lolo Jones. Those two, oil and water. They just never got along with each other. I don't think that Nam got a fair shake. Now Emmy has left this season, which means Nam's gone as well. It is truly ride or die. There's no flipping around. There's no switching like we've seen in seasons past. Emmy's gone. Nam's gone as well. 2 seasons that Nam has not had a fair shake. I'm ready to see Nam come back in a non-partnership type season, something where he has control over his fate. The more I feel like the guy's getting the short end of the stick, the more I'm going to be cheering for him every other season. So I sure hope we see Nam back again. But we've lost the team before we ever even get to the competition itself. So the competition itself, I think they call it balancing act. It's a cool comp. One at a time, it's a timed competition. One at a time, the 2 ride or dies have to jump into the water. They swim opposite directions. They have to climb up a rope ladder, a suspended ladder type deal, up to a storage container. They each have a storage container hanging out over water. At the other end from the rope ladder is a rope, swinging rope. You have to grab that swinging rope, swing across the open water, and land on a platform. Picture a giant teeter-totter. It's a platform that's secured in the very middle. So you put weight on one side, it tilts like this. Put weight on the other side, it tilts like that. One of the two has to swing across, grab hold of a rope that's attached to the top of that teeter-totter, crawl to the other side, get it to tip down the other direction so the other partner can swing on their rope ladder, land on the other side. Once both people are on the platform, they have to manipulate their weights, the position, until the platform, the teeter-totter, is strictly horizontal, completely horizontal, at which time the clock ends. Whoever does it the fastest wins this competition. Easy peasy, right? Not so much, as we're going to find out. Yeah, this is a hard one. We had a lot of people. I thought it was all going to be best times. As it turns out, half the battle is just completing the challenge because we have a lot of people who didn't. So the first team to go, Horatio and Olivia. Olivia's from Love Island. Horatio is from a soccer player, but he's also a Spanish language version. It looks like a survivor of some sort of the challenge or something of that sort. I haven't seen the show, but apparently takes a lot of athleticism because Horatio, he is killing this thing. He is a fast swimmer. He's fast up the ladder. He gets that teeter-totter positioned in time for Olivia to eventually make it out. Olivia does all right as well. Not like Horatio, but she does pretty well. They get the thing balanced. They've kind of set the standard for the time to beat at this point in time. So they do a pretty good job. Now, from a self standpoint, they've got to be proud of the effort they made. It's got to give them self-confidence, self-esteem at how well they've done, make them feel a lot better about going forward in the game. But there's always dangers about doing too well in these competitions unless you win. If you do great and you don't win, that sometimes is more dangerous than it is good. And we quickly see Nelson pointing out to the camera saying, look, we're all seeing what a great job Horatio's doing. We didn't really know this guy coming in, but last week, this week, he's athletic. He's doing a fantastic job on these challenges. As much as that makes them respect Horatio, it also makes Horatio, and therefore Olivia as well, huge targets when it comes time for the vets to maybe be going after some of these newbies. So Horatio's looking great in terms of playing the game. It may have come back to bite him a little bit. They need to win this challenge. All right, so we've got that. On the other hand, we've got Horatio and Olivia do so well. Other teams, as I mentioned, not so well. We've got Tamara can't make the rope swing, which means that Turbo is disqualified as well because they don't ever get a time established. They're not the only team that can't finish, though. Neither can Nelson and Norris. Neither can Colleen or Kim. Neither can my BB21 family of Tommy and Sis. Tommy takes quite the fall. He looks like he's trying to go so fast. He jumps out to grab that rope, can't get a good handle, goes tumbling into the water itself. Tommy did a little Instagram story afterwards saying, yeah, no one told me when you climb the rope ladder, you climb like this instead of putting your hands like this. When you do like this, it tends to pull you backwards, much harder to crawl. So Tommy's learning trial by fire how hard it is. Doesn't matter. He and Sis certainly weren't the only ones that did not succeed at this challenge. They didn't succeed. Mariah and Fessy didn't succeed. I think Fessy's the one who fell rather than Mariah. There are a lot of people that are falling into the water. It went on and on and on. I wasn't sure if anyone other than Horatio and Olivia were going to finish this at one point. But eventually we get to Tori and Devin. Remember, they just competed for their life in the elimination arena. Now they've got a chance to maybe make some amends, maybe go after some people that maybe they got some grudges against. So Tori and Devin get up there. They complete the course also. Pretty good time. We're not seeing the time, so we don't know who's beating who at this point. But Tori and Devin are the second ride or die duo to finish the competition. And then we have Bananas and Nany get up there, and there's no surprise, right? They do fantastic. Bananas gets out there, gets a teeter-tottered position. Nany jumps on there, grabs it. So we've got three teams that in the end up finishing this thing. Three teams out of how many are on there? Like 14 teams total, 13 teams, something like that. We've got three teams to finish. So this was a much harder challenge than I expected it to be beforehand. But three teams have done well. One ride or die of newbies, two of existing vets. So we'll see how they win. So first place goes to, well, we don't know because, of course, JT's got one extra little twist he wants to throw in ahead of time. He says, yeah, before we talk about who won, we may have one extra team to introduce. Now, I know from the preseason little videos MTV ran that there was going to be some teams introduced later as we went into the season that were talked about. So I was expecting to see that. We see a team coming back out. Eventually, we recognize that it is not a new team. No, it's Casey and her brother Kenny are back. Apparently, they passed the COVID protocols. I'd heard some stories. Casey said they were in quarantine in two separate hotel rooms, drinking all the cold and flu medicine they could, and orange juice and everything else. It must have worked. I don't get the feeling a lot of time has passed within the game, but obviously it's been enough. They've been cleared to compete back again. So Casey and Kenny are back in the game. I'm happy for that. I'm happy for it for Casey, but I'm especially happy for her brother that he gets to do this with his sister, that he gets to play a reality TV competition type game as well. So Casey and Kenny are back in, and they get to do the competition before this thing finishes up. And excuse me, they do the challenge. They do pretty well. I wasn't so certain because I saw Kenny when he jumps into the water, kind of just jumps straight in, holding his nose. But he actually does well. In fact, I think he maybe got to the top of the ladder before Casey did. But anyway, they do well. They complete. So we've got 4 duos that have completed the challenge. Now it's time to reveal the winner. The winner of episode 2's challenge competition is Nany and Bananas. Yeah, the super team that came back in at the end of last episode has won the first competition that they get to compete in. Welcome back to the challenge, guys. Yeah, we shouldn't be surprised, but I was anyway. They have won the challenge. So now the big question, are they going to go after the newbies, or has Turbo just rubbed them the wrong way and they're going after Turbo instead? Well, we're going to find out very quickly. So with that being said, we get everyone back to the house. Nany, and I didn't realize this, Nany and Turbo apparently maybe in his first season on the show were partners at one point in time. So they've got some history together, a friendship. I don't know if you call it that, but at least a working relationship together. So Nany approaches Turbo and just trying to figure out, saying, look, I've heard people say that you said you wanted to go in the elimination. Do you want to go in? Just tell me and I'll work with you. Turbo's having none of it. He's acting almost offended that she would ask the question. He is so insistent on saying, if you want me in, I'll go in. But he won't give her an answer about what he actually wants. At one point, I think Nany says something along the lines of, he's trying to be too macho. He's not willing to tell me that he doesn't want to go in. He's just not willing to say that. Maybe that's part of it, because the conversation does not go well. He's just acting offended that she would even ask him the question. Maybe he just doesn't like the fact that Nany, he would have to recognize and acknowledge that maybe Nany holds his fate in her hands. And for Turbo, maybe that's just beyond what he's willing to accept. So he cuts off the conversation. Nany leaves extremely frustrated as well. Not the way that this show is more about just the competitions. You can be the most badass, athletic, competitive person in the world, but if you can't handle the social game, it creates issues. And I'm just not sure Turbo's quite there at this point in time. So from there, we see Bananas and Nany in the interrogation room talking a little bit about strategy. Bananas wants to bring in Turbo, and he's saying, look, if we get rid of Turbo, this guy needs to go. The quickest way to get rid of Turbo is to bring him in, and Tamara, who is his ride or die, bring him in, and then let's identify 3 people who have friends within three ride or dies that are friends with each other, so that they will protect each other, and they'll make sure to go after Turbo and not after each other as much as possible. So that's kind of the strategy that Banana is offering up, and Nany seems receptive to it as well. And so as a result, they end up picking the 4 ride or dies for interrogation are Turbo and Tamara. No surprise there. Michelle and Jay, a little bit of a surprise there, and we'll talk about that in a second. Johnny and Raven, who won last week, so not a huge surprise with that one. And then Horatio and Olivia. Again, they look pretty good this week, so being rookies and looking pretty strong, I can see why they picked them. Now, going back to Jay and Michelle, it seems like the main reason that they've pulled Jay and Michelle in is going back to Banana's strategy of picking friends who will watch out for each other in order to go after Turbo. And Bananas is pointing out that Jay is very tight with Johnny. They want to bring Johnny back because Johnny was so vocal, saying, look, we're newbies, we're going after the vets. Bananas wants to send a message back to him. And so as a result, he's bringing Johnny and Raven back, wants to bring back Jay because they're tight friends, Johnny and Jay. Nany, not so much. She's friends with Michelle, really didn't want to bring her in, but she kind of deferred to Bananas on that decision. So those are the 4 ride or dies they brought in. Again, Johnny and Raven are really paying a price for not just targeting the vets, but also being so vocal that they were intending to target the vets. It makes you think maybe they could have gone after them, but maybe had even a few more newbies mixed in with the batch. It is what it is. But these 4 duos get to come in, argue their case to Bananas and Nany. Johnny and Raven and Olivia and Horacio, they're basically standing up and not really backing down, saying, look, we're not surprised that y'all brought us in. We get it. No hard feelings. It is what it is. We'll stand up. We'll fight. Whatever. Horacio says, yeah, I'll give it everything I got, and hopefully that's enough, and we'll see what happens. Bananas at this point, I can't remember if it's to Horacio or to Johnny, but he says, look, we want to send a message to all the newbies that don't mess with the vets. So he's making it pretty clear as well, the message or the direction they're going also. So the first 2 groups, pretty receptive of what's happening. Jay and Michelle, not so much. Jay's upset he got called in. Jay kind of got picked on his first season. He went through the elimination arena. He was picked every single week, it seems like, till he went home. He's a little upset that he's getting pulled in again just because he's friends with Johnny. So he's upset about that. Michelle is crying, telling Nany, I thought we were friends. I really love you on a personal basis. Now you're doing this to me. I'd never do it to you. Really tugging on Nany's heartstrings. Not sure it's working with Bananas, but Nany, it's certainly having an effect. Very much crying to her. And then we have Turbo and Tamara coming in to talk about getting called in. And I say maybe because it really goes about as well as the first conversation that Nany tried to have with Turbo. Turbo said, man, Nany, I don't want to listen to you. I just don't even want to listen to it. He gets up, walks out. Tamara had a hard thing. Bananas and Nany were both saying, look, sit here, just sit here. She said, no, I got to support Turbo. I got to go. And so she leaves as well. So the 2 of them walk out the door. Pretty much it seems like their fate sealed in terms of who Bananas and Nany are going to pick, right? It seems like it. How would you not pick Turbo and Tamara after being kind of disrespected like they just did to Bananas and Nany? But stranger things have happened. Nany does say, though, well, Turbo made the decision pretty easy for us, I guess, huh? Yeah, I think probably so. So at this point, we've got the nightclub scene. They're all dancing to their pseudo music. I've heard stories that they don't always even play music at these things. So who knows? But they're still getting to hang together, have some drinks, things like that. We see a little maybe a precursor for future activity. We see Horacio and Laurel seem to make a little bit of a connection off away from everyone else. And Horacio talking about how he's kind of a shy guy, and Laurel saying, yeah, well, I'm not really a shy girl. So we'll see if that goes anywhere. Maybe that'd be kind of interesting to see how that develops. We do have Michelle talking to Nany and saying, look, if you do what you can for it, she says, I promise to you, I will keep Jay from going after you and Bananas if you'll protect us, if you'll do what you can. I know Bananas doesn't like Jay, but I'll keep him from going after y'all. I can control him. You don't have to throw me under the bus just because you and Bananas are mad at Jay. So she's trying to make some amends, smooth things over with Nany a little bit. We've got Jay and Michelle talking about Johnny. Jay's upset. Jay's saying, look, just because I'm friends with Johnny, I'm getting picked on. I'm getting selected and thrown under the bus as well. And Michelle's saying, look, it is what it is. He called out the vets. He's going to continue to be a huge target for them. And she's saying the quicker we cut our connections with Johnny and are done with it, we lose the target on our backs as well. We need to cut him loose. And that's what Michelle wants to do. Jay's saying, I'm not going to do that. He's my buddy. I'm just not going to do that. We'll see how that goes. All right. We eventually find out who has been picked to go into the elimination arena by Bananas and Nany. It turns out that it is drum roll. Yeah, you don't need a drum roll. It's obvious. Yeah, it's Turbo and Tamara have been picked to go into the elimination arena. We don't know which of the other three duos will be going up against them because that takes place in the elimination arena. But it's definitely going to be Turbo and Tamara at this point in time. So we make it to the elimination arena. The remaining three, just as we saw last week, have to go over to the Sword and the Stone Rock, pull out three daggers, one dagger per couple. One of those daggers is safe. The other two are not safe. The safe team has to pick one of the two teams that aren't safe to protect as well. Whoever's left is going to be going up against Tamara and Turbo to see who goes home. Well, it turns out that the safe duo this week is Jay and Michelle. Yeah, they're safe. Not only are they safe, but now they get to have to pick which of the other two ride or die duos is going to be going up against Turbo and Tamara. So they have to make that pick. Michelle wants to cut Johnny loose, just as they already talked about. She's saying, look, let's put Johnny and Raven up there, go against them. Jay's not having any of it. Jay says, now I'm not, if I do that, I'm going to be seen as a backstabber. I can't do that in this game. I need to be showing at least some loyalty to some of my friends. I'm not putting up Johnny and Raven. And he doesn't. As it turns out, they choose to go up against Turbo and Tamara. They choose Olivia and Horatio. Yeah, the only duo that's left that is not safe. So we have a vet team going up against a newbie team to see what happens. I guess they're vet team. Turbo's played before, right? Tamara hadn't, but Turbo's kind of a vet. And then we've got Horatio and Olivia from the other side going up against each other to see who goes home. Well, this competition, I kind of reminded me of the Squid Games, a kids type competition, a kids game. It's just a big memory matching board, one board for each of the two teams. I think there's 24 squares. You flip over two squares at a time. If the symbols match, they stay flipped over. If not, you have to go tag your partner. They come back over. They flip two squares until all 24 squares have been matched. Whoever does that first wins the competition. The other duo goes home. They start playing. I actually think Turbo and Tamara may have made the first match in this competition, but we quickly hear Johnny and Nany hollering out instructions, assistance to Olivia and Horatio. And at that point, you realize that the boards are on the ground. Everyone else up around the arena can see down and see what's going on, keep track of what's been pulled. And so before long, it seems like everyone, not just Johnny, not just Bananas and Nany, but everyone is helping Horatio and Olivia. That's the danger. When you ignore the social element of the game, when you go out of your way to just be bitter towards everyone, you can pay the price. And that's what's happening here. Everyone is helping Olivia and Horatio. And with that extra assistance, it's kind of a foregone conclusion. It's not a blowout, but they certainly win by a significant amount, by a bit. So Horatio and Olivia have won the second competition, which means Turbo and Tamara are going home. There's not a person in this arena who's crying tears or saying, oh, we're sorry, we're going to miss you, or anything else. That they were all ready to see Turbo gone. Turbo's just like a thorn under your skin that as long as he's there, it was going to continue to create more friction. We're going to have plenty of friction in the house as is, but everyone just felt like he was an extra element that they didn't need. I'd still question, is Turbo really like this, or is this just him playing it for the cameras? I don't know. We're not going to find out this season. I think Turbo may be back. Turbo's going to be a little bit like Bear was, one of the contestants from past season, who just always seemed to rub people the wrong way. And I'm sure every show has to have a villain. Turbo fits that role perfectly. So I'm sure we'll see Turbo back, but not this season. At least I don't think this season. You never know. All right, so we know who's going home. We think it's the end of the episode, but now there's one extra little twist that has to get thrown out there. TJ says, yeah, I'm feeling kind of nice. Let's bring out another team. We see someone else come out. Who's new to the game at this episode? Jordan, who broke up with Tori a year and a half ago. Now I know why they had the whole conversation. Tori saying she hadn't seen Jordan in a year and a half since they broke out. Well, she's going to be seeing a lot of them at this point in time because they're not competing against each other. So I'm sure there'll be all kinds of discussion of that on the next episode. Who's Tori's partner in the game? They don't show. I've heard a bit here and there. I think I know who it is, but since they didn't show on the episode, I'm not going to say on here. I'm sure a lot of y'all know, but we'll talk about it next week because I'm sure that person will be introduced as well. But Jordan's back. Probably not Tori's ideal competitor. Certainly makes it seem like I don't know. Would Tori and Devin go after Jordan and his mystery partner just because of their past history? I could see it, but we'll find out. Another action-packed episode. Turbo's gone again. No one's crying any tears, but we'll see. So now we've got two vets who went home. We kind of have another vet who went home as well. The newbies are surviving so far. Let's see if that keeps up. Guys, y'all have a fantastic rest of the week. I will be back again next week to talk about episode 3 of the challenge Ride or Dies. It's been a great one so far. Guys, y'all have a great one yourselves. SKD 143. Cheers, my friends.